I've never thought of life without art. I've always done art all of my life. I've always had tremendous support from the women of my family, my grandmother, my mother, aunts. I've always had the ability to do art within my family because it was looked upon as a special omen, if you will. The fact that one can create something just based on looking at it. So there was a tremendous sense of pride, not from the perspective of Jonathan Green, an artist, but from the perspective of Jonathan Green having the ability and the God-given talent to do these things. So I was always nurtured. I was nurtured in the church that I went to, the Husband Baptist Church, which was founded in 1866, I think. Got tremendous support from school, from primary school, middle school, high school, and I had a wonderful opportunity when I was in the military to join an art school, and that was the Art Institute of Chicago. And I took up my professors when I was in a vocational school studying textile design, and they suggested that I go to Chicago and just go to the Art Institute and see what it's like for me and if there was anything that I could take from it. And the next semester I enrolled as a student at large, and the following semester I became a student at the Art Institute of Chicago with a primary interest in painting and drawing. But originally I went there as a fashion design student. Always I'm painting about people from my past because those are the people that I can remember most clearly. And I think it's important. I think in terms of an artist of African American descent and culture, it's very important for me to paint whom I am and the people that I grew up around, because I'm telling stories and giving a sense of the history so that people will know where these paintings come from and who those people are, and that those people are connected to the artist. The landscape, the topography is very important. The marsh, which is the most, in my opinion, of my international travels, is the most beautiful place on the planet, the marshlands of South Carolina. Knowing about the history and the culture of rice as to the reason why enslaved Africans were brought here is because of the rice culture. And the rice culture helped to shape so much of the marshland areas that I'm from. And there's a great sense of pride knowing that you come from such a rich culture from the west coast of Africa, and that culture was brought over here, not necessarily in the best of terms, but it was brought here, it has survived here, and it is still surviving here, and it added to a rich 250-year economy. I would like to say that as an artist, I'm particularly interested in children's education about the arts. I think it's so often that we as a people, as parents, as relatives, as teachers, forget the importance of art, that fourth R. There are 3 R's that we know of: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Well, there's the fourth, and the fourth is the most important because it's the longest lasting sign, imagery of history and culture as we go back to the cave paintings. So if you had people back in the days of cave culture, drawing, illustrating images and ideas of what life was about, what life was like and is about, then that should make some sense to contemporary people today. So that one of the first classes and continued classes should always be classes in the arts. Well, I'm up at 2 in the morning, a.m., and I usually take an hour just to kind of get myself situated. I enjoy reading, so I usually start with reading for about an hour. Richard and I have conversations for about an hour just to fill each other in on the course of the day and what we need to do. And usually around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm walking up to my studio where I put on a great piece of music. I love instrumental musics mostly, but then I also love the melodic voice of African American spiritual singers. So I start out with the vocal, and then I end up to the musical, and I paint from, say, 6 until about 10 a.m. Then I shower, clean up, and prepare myself for a main day meal, which is at 11:30. And after 11:30, 12:30, 1 o'clock, I'm back at work until about 4. And after 4, I take the day off, have 2 hours to relax before getting into bed. And that's 6 days a week. In the studio, I'm usually working on series of works. Most often I have 2 or 3 series that I'm working on, which consist of anywhere from 12 to 20 paintings. And I work on those paintings simultaneously. I like using the Verdaccio method, which is a old European method of applications of paint by layers. And I believe in the importance of great craftsmanship when it comes to art making, because my intent is to have the paintings last for hundreds of years. I'm inspired by Charleston. I'm inspired with the architecture of Charleston. I'm inspired knowing the history of Charleston, knowing the people that built and created Charleston, which greatly is a part of my ancestry. My great-grandfather made bricks, and those bricks were used in the city of Beaufort after the Civil War. And so there are great bricklayers that were here, great carpenters that were here, architects. When I was a kid, I knew Charleston only as a black city. I did not know Charleston as any other city, because those were the people I saw. And those were the people that seemingly were doing all the works in the hotels and in the kitchens and on the streets. And King Street, up and down King Street, I only knew King Street as a place of predominantly African-American culture. Now, as an adult returning to Charleston, I got to see the other side of Charleston, which would, of course, include the Gibbs Museum and the College of Charleston, MUSC. And so I'm learning about Charleston again as an adult, learning about the internationalness of Charleston. We're going to install a mural at the city market in a couple months, and that's going to be a piece that it's our gift to the city that helps to have visitors and people alike aware of the importance of African American culture here. I'm very active with the building of the new International African American Museum, to which I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of them for including rice into the infrastructure of that museum, because the economy of rice is just so important when we think in terms of our culture. And it lasted for 250 years, and Carolina Gold was one of the most prized rice for over 100 years, better than rice from India, China, and that's African rice. So to reinstitute the pride of rice culture and what rice culture has done, a form of education, I think that's the best way to step off into the next part of our history. You know, it's a privilege for me to be an artist. So having the honor to be an artist and the privilege to be able to make a living from it gives me all the muse and enthusiasm I need to wake up every morning at 2 a.m.